Hello, everyone. This is Jesse Wellhoefer with Continue to Give. Super excited that I can be bringing you some great content today. Just had an awesome webinar with Nancy Rieves. She's a fundraising expert and a nonprofit coach. And she was willing to share with us her steps and her secrets to doing large gift fundraising. Guys, this is incredible stuff in here, and I'm just so happy to show it to you. So here it is. Oh, perfect. All right. We've got Nancy and we've got myself, Jesse. Thank you guys for joining up. We've been seeing some people coming in. We've got people coming in from California and all kinds of places. Excellent. Thank you guys for showing up. I guess it's about time to start. So as some more people start coming in, just in case we have any people showing up late, I think it would be a real good time just to let you guys know, as you use Continue to Give's tools, we also want to give you some expert advice on how to use them. So while I'm busy making the tools, we're also going to be inviting people like Nancy to share their experiences. So just let me give you guys a little background about Nancy. Nancy is actually a fundraising coach. She provides nonprofit leaders with a roadmap to raise more money through major gifts. With a proven step-by-step process, she removes the overwhelm and guides you to become more confident and successful with fundraising. So Nancy supports small and medium-sized nonprofit organizations. Having served as a founding executive director of a nonprofit, she started from square one, raised millions, led a team, and wrote her doctorate dissertation on fundraising activities. She is your fundraising guide. So that's just a little bit about Nancy. So we've got some expert here. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this conversation, Jesse.
Excellent.
We're gonna have fun talking about large gifts today.
Well, thanks so much, because I know myself, I always struggle with asking for gifts of any kind, let alone large donations. So yeah. Can everyone hear us okay? If you just want to do a shout out, you can always chat. I just want to say that as this goes on, we're going to be talking about some things, and we're going to save questions and answers to the end. So you guys can start typing in some questions if you have them, although we're probably not going to be stopping and answering each one until the end. Then if you stay for the end, you definitely want to stay. You want to hear what we're going to be talking about, but also Nancy has a special treat for everyone at the end of this webinar. So you're definitely going to want to stick around for that. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, a lot of people have already told us where you're coming from. So Nancy, do we want to do a poll session right away, or?
Yeah. I think there are two questions I wanted you to ask the group. So either one, Jesse, you just pick one. I actually want you to do both right off early.
Okay, well, all right, awesome. Well, we do have some polls in here right away. So, all right, here's the first poll. So you guys should see a poll coming up. This kind of gives us an idea where you're coming from, whether you're the CEO, director. Yeah, if you could just kind of fill in what fits your, where you fill in there, gives Nancy an idea who she's talking to. And
yeah, looks good. We've got a tie. Oh yeah. This is the audience I serve, and I see you've got your IT managers and administrators. I think you're drawing those in, right, Jesse?
I don't know. Maybe. I think a lot of IT and administrators have to run the Continue to Give program, really setting it up and everything like that. So
yeah,
see a lot of that.
Well, that's awesome. I love seeing the executive directors and the director of development, or you might have a slightly different title. That's fine, but you're focused on fundraising, those first two groups. So excellent. This is you're in for a treat as we talk about large gifts. Do you want to ask the next poll? We'll go ahead and just ask that, Jesse. That's fine with me. That's going to give us who's here.
All right. Well, Nancy's got a good one here for you. She wants to know what your experience is like. If you're starting from scratch, if you've got a couple years, or if you're like me, you have a lot of years, but you feel like you're starting from scratch sometimes.
Exactly. Oh, I love it. Being added a while is in the running. I feel like I'm in a horse race and like, someone's gaining. New or starting from scratch. Always get you, which I love. I really work with those who are new and starting with scratch, as well as those who've been at it a while. I have a good mix when I have courses and I have my group coaching. Wonderful. Let's see, 87% in. So everybody's answered. Super. So over half are starting from scratch and then been at it a while. Then have one person has a couple of years. Well, you're in the right place. Whether you are starting from scratch or new, you're going to find great value from the things that I'm going to talk to you about. Are you ready for me to go ahead, Jesse? Just turn it over to me, or?
Well, yeah, Nancy. So what's your story behind your focus on major gift fundraising? So tell us how it happened that you're so lasered in on major gifts and how you're going to be able to help people here today.
Yeah, I am definitely lasered in on major gifts. And there is a reason. And I'll tell you quickly, I know Jesse did an intro on me, but here's what happened and why I'm so laser focused on this. And I'm so passionate about focusing on large gifts for nonprofits. I was at a college teaching business classes, and the college president asked me to oversee the foundation. And I said, no. An emphatic no. I said, I don't like to ask people for money. I'm just not interested in that at all. And so time went by and he asked me again. He said, have you thought about it anymore? I said, no, I've not thought about it. I'm not interested in foundation work or asking people for money. That's what was in my head. And then the third time he said, I actually need you. I'm really in a pickle. I need you to help me. And I said, okay, I'll do it as long as I do not have to ask someone for money. I don't like doing that. He said, that's fine. I'll give you the training. I'll ask people for money if you'll just do everything else. So that's how my career started in fundraising and just fundraising in general. Well, time went on and I did get some training, and I was at a conference, and it was something that just completely changed my view of asking people for money. And it was a Dave Dunlop. If any of you know him, he's retired. He was at Cornell University, and he's actually one of the fathers really of the moves management system. So you might be familiar with moves management. Well, I met him and sat with him at a conference during the break, and he changed my understanding of fundraising. So keep that in mind. And then when I took this position, everyone was telling me I need to do these events, I need to do that. I didn't know what to do. And so I did these events. And then at the end of the day, I thought, why did we do that? What? There was no purpose behind that event. We didn't raise any money. So at the same time, I was in my doctorate program and decided to do my dissertation on analyzing fundraising activities. And pulling all that together, the analysis that came in showed that there were so many nonprofits focused on small revenue generating activities like the one I had just done. And I thought, oh my gosh, there it is. Why are we focused on small revenue generating activities? And so I was then tapped to start a foundation, and I thought, well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on large gifts. So that's where I did, and I led that organization, started from scratch. They had no bylaws, no 501c3, so established the 501c3 and got the policies in place, the bylaws in place. And we raised over $16 million by focusing mainly on large gift fundraising. Now and I'll explain what large gift, major gift fundraising entailed, what really that was. And it was a game changer. I never regretted not focusing on events. We never held a fundraising event ever. The whole time that $6 million, we never focused on event fundraising. Okay. So I tell you that.
Great. because most people think you need an event. You got to get the people there. If you don't have those big donors there, and I've done many events myself for the mission work I do in Tanzania, and I know that's not always true, but the mindset is if I can't do a big event, I can't get big donors.
Right. Now I did events once a year. We did events, but that was not our purpose. It was to bring people, get to know them, and very intentional events, small and some larger, but the purpose was not to sell tickets or raffles or, auction things off or a golf tournament. And it just wasn't. And that's what my dissertation study revealed, is that these small generating activities pull you away from focusing on really getting in the big gifts. And so that's what I did, and that's what I teach. And that's why I'm so passionate about teaching nonprofits to focus on large gifts.
Awesome. Well, Nancy, what do you think the main thing is you see nonprofits doing that hinders people from reaching their highest potential and raising money?
Well, really, besides what I just described and focusing on small revenue generating activities, that's one. The other is the fear. It's just the fear of that word, major gifts or large gifts, or I can't approach a donor. I can't approach a wealthy individual to ask them for a large amount of money. I can't do that. So it's that mindset, that limiting belief mindset, or that fear of fundraising, or fear of rejection. Those are the first two that come to mind when you ask that question. So
I know for myself, I come from a family of farmers, and you don't ask people for anything, right? We're here to work hard and provide. And my dad has done mission work on his own money, and myself as well. It's always been a struggle for me. I know my own mental, and even though I help others raise money, I still struggle with that, probably from a fear thing right there. You nailed it. Even for me, I'm sure there's a lot of people in here as well. That's a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And I tell you my story because I told the college president, no way am I going to do that. That is not something I'm interested in. I was so emphatic about, I'm not doing that. I'm not interested. I'll stay in my teaching my business classes. I'm just happy where I am, kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So, Jesse, I do have some tips on how to overcome that fear of rejection or fundraising, if you want me to start there, because that's one thing I wanted to share. Is that a good place to start?
Like, help us get over our fear, because that's probably 90% of it right there.
It is. You're exactly right. So the first thing I say when I think about the fear, or helping a client get over that fear, because I can feel it, I can see it, and they'll say it when I'm in, group coaching calls or one-on-one calls with some of my clients. One of the first things that you have to understand is fundraising or asking for money is not about you. It's not about you. And I know your sweaty palms and your flush, and you're just the thought of asking someone, not even you're in the moment or think about to ask someone for money, but just the thought that you're going to have to ask someone next week for money, you just start to get flushed and flustered, and just, you walk around in a state of singularly focused on that. You've got to take the focus away from you and think about the donor. You're the conduit. Here's the second part, is remember that you're the conduit between those who have the means to give and those who are in need. So a nonprofit exists because there is either a need or a problem, or there's no reason for a nonprofit to exist. Make sense?
Yeah.
So you play that role of a conduit. So you're kind of that matchmaker between those who have the means and those who are in need, whether it's a scholarship or helping someone in Kenya. I saw someone that popped up and said they're from Kenya. There's a need, and you're just that middle person making it happen, which is a really cool role if you think about it.
Yeah, because I know when I ask, if it's someone I know, I feel judged by them.
Yeah.
And because maybe they know me or they know this or that, and then they think, well, what do you need money for? I see you're already doing it. So if you're doing it without, so you feel this judge, and going to somebody new, I think, well, they don't know me. What do they care about me and what I'm doing? So what are some tips for getting over that fear besides, I think that's great what you said. It's not about me. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
Okay. If they're judging me, they're not giving to me. They're giving to this cause. So
Right.
like you said, get myself out of it.
Yeah.
Do you have any other tips on how to get over
So,
that fear?
yeah. Well, first of all, the other piece of it is we think about whether you're a board member or a executive director or development director, you think that I've got to it's all about me getting that money in. But it's if you take yourself out of that and just think you have got a cause. I mean, you've got to have a cause. You are going to be judged if you don't have a reason, a really good reason to give. An urgent need is ideal, and you just have to show that need. You've got to show the need. And I'll jump a little bit to, I'm going to show you a process in a minute. I'm going to jump ahead because this is a good time to show a point. Anytime you're communicating your need, first have to identify it. Then you have to show that you have a proven solution, and then you have to show there's a transformation. In other words, you've got some testimonies or examples of Johnny or Susie or whoever that life was changed or saved or something happened. Or it could be a community. It's not always a person. It can be a community saved or a building, historic building saved. I mean, it could be, wildlife conservation. It's all kinds of missions that, that we're working with, nonprofits.
Absolutely.
So when you're talking with the donor, having that understanding in mind, and it is what I teach, is knowing what the problem is, being able to share that proven solution, and then sharing that transformation. So think about how that can easily flow. I mean, does it make sense when I share that with you? Does it come to mind like when you're asking?
Absolutely. And we might have nonprofits once in a while that are just starting out, and maybe, so is a large donor, large asks for someone who's just starting out, or should they maybe first get that, hey, I've done this in the past, now I'm ready for those big donations?
Yeah. You know what someone told me once when I was first starting off, they said, it's just one more zero, Nancy. It's just another zero behind that number. And I thought, well, I guess so. But in the eye of the person you're asking money for, that's really, it's kind of the same. $10 to someone and $1,000 to someone else, it feels different because someone who doesn't have the means, $10 is a lot, but someone who has the means, $1,000 is an easy write a check or transfer money. It just, that they'll easily do that. Those who have the means are yeah.
That's true too. Sometimes we put our own limits on it. Like, well, I would probably only have enough to give $100, so I'm not going to ask more than that. And some people are looking, well, I donate $5,000-$10,000 a month somewhere. So where's it going to be this month?
Exactly. You think about this. We are in a very wealthy country. The United States is a very wealthy country. And not only that, it's a very philanthropic country. I can't remember the latest number. It's over like $430 billion, B with a B. $430 billion is given in charitable gifts each year.
Wow.
And Jesse, in 2020, we may have thought that the giving would have gone down because people were in hard spots. They're depending on their business, but it wasn't. Those who had the means stepped up and gave more. So
they did.
The numbers.
And I can validate that through our own system. We definitely thought the giving was going to go down. It increased. People stepped up and people supported the causes that they care about. So awesome. Amen to that. I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Really was happy to see that happen.
And that goes to our country being so
I mean, you've given us some great stuff. So take yourself out of the equation. So then I don't have to be fearful of it. Yeah. Get some of my ducks in a row. Like make sure I show the need, that I can show what we do, and hopefully have, if we've done something already, show that we've been successful. And now we're going to go repeat this. Yeah. People want to see that their money is going to work for them. That's
Yeah.
awesome. What are some of the next things that we can share with these guys?
So you want to practice. And here's the phrase. You want to be ready. You want to be prepared. And when I say that, I mean, not just practice the words, but be prepared, know the donor. And we're kind of skipping over some of the steps to get there. You do need to nurture, you get to know the donor. Right? I'm not talking about cold ask here. Now,
Okay.
I have done cold ask and successful, but I really teach relationship fundraising. That's the best kind of fundraising because you want people to come back year after year. You want them to be a part of your hug, a part of your huddle, part of your circle of friends. These are your friends. Your large gift donors are the friends of your organization. So they don't just, like I have a friend this year and then you find a new friend next year, find a new friend next year. These are your friends. So
okay. So really nurture those relationships. So for
yeah.
a lot of you that might not happen. And I just want to say that we're busy out there. We post something on Facebook. We figure that's good enough.
Yeah.
But if you just wrote somebody, 10% of your income for the year is happening to see it on Facebook good enough for you, or are you going to feel like you're left out of the party? So really nurturing that is super important, like you said, Nancy.
Yeah. And what you do, Jesse, with building this platform, annual giving is important. I don't want to skip over that because what you do and continue to give is generate a lot of small donations. Those small donations are very important. Number one, they build a pipeline of donors. And if I'm a wealthy donor, I'm going to test the water. I'm going to give to this organization at a smaller level just to see what they do with my money, how they are show gratitude, thank me. Someone who's wealthy doesn't typically just say, I've got $10,000, do you want it? And they've never given before.
Okay.
So continue to give, and that platform of small donations is very important. And you want to look at who's given year after year at $100 year after year. Maybe they bumped it up to $250. Maybe they bumped it up to $500. Maybe they need to be asked if they would consider increasing their annual giving. So that's nurturing in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. So be aware, look at what's going on and know who maybe you should ask and keep them up to date. Absolutely. Don't leave your donors out. Don't forget about them. Don't be too busy.
Exactly. I mean, this is relationship fundraising. That's what I really want you to get from this is it's all about getting to know your donors and nurturing them like you do a best friend. Just like a best friend, you pick up the phone or you text and you say, hey, I haven't talked to you in a while. How are you? I mean, that's what you do with a donor is you're constantly, how are you doing through this crisis? Are you, how are you doing? Are you getting out now? Or I hope you're able to see family. These are just friends. That's how you treat.
One thing that's coming to my mind, if I can raise my hand and ask, and I'm sure this might be coming to other people's mind as well. How do you do that nurturing so you don't sound like the guy that only calls when he needs, hey, how are you doing? And then the conversation always leads into, by the way, we're short 10 grand this month. How do you not sound like that guy, but have a genuine relationship with these donors? What's the tip on that as long as we're going?
Yeah, well, you don't call them every time you need money. I mean, that's not the reason you call every time. So just don't do that. I mean, you need to, it's a genuine relationship.
Yeah.
So, if you've got you've got your CRM and you make notes when the last time you talked with someone, just because you can't remember, it's a little more systematic. You have your CRM and you keep notes, you've got note section and you've got a dashboard and you've got a tickle file, those types of things. And if you run across an article, I'm kind of skipping because I want to show you that Inspire method when we get to that, because that's going to help, Jesse. You're great. You're jumping right to some things I want to share. But it's exactly right. You do nurture these relationships. The only kind of cold ask, I'll just say this, the only type of cold ask that I have made, and very successful, several $1 million came from it, is that I was looking for a corporate sponsor. I was with a national organization, so I was looking for a car insurance company. And I was homesick one day, so I started just calling Geico. I thought, Geico's the one I think of, and their brand really fits us. I was helping community college students with scholarships, and they're commuting, they're in the car a lot. And so I just called and kept asking for the person in charge of marketing, the person in charge of affinity programs. Finally, I got the vice president of marketing on the phone, and I was ready. I told her what I had, which was community college students, and they're struggling, and they would be a great fit and a great sponsor for some of our programs. And I told them why, and I told them what happens when a student can't pay or when they get a scholarship. So I just went through all that I just shared, and they ended up giving several $1 million over several years because it was such a fit. That's a corporate example, and a little bit of it was a cold call. I didn't know her, but
that's excellent. And I have a little similar story. I hope you don't mind me jumping in, because a lot of people are probably feeling, well, we're not big enough to get a corporate sponsor, right? Well, let me tell you, we work with a Hope Pregnancy Agency, and I recently went to Culver's. Culver's is kind of a big, well-known name, at least in our area. I don't know if they're everywhere. Yeah. But I was just eating in there a couple weeks ago, and they had the little give box there. And then I talked to the executive director, and I was like, "Did you know that?" And he's like, "I did." He's like, "I couldn't believe it. Like, a Culver's picked us up." That can happen. You might have friends that own a business. They may not be, it may not be Nike or Adidas or, but there's companies around you that that you're friends with that could be that corporate sponsor for you.
Absolutely. And listen to this. Here's some statistics. And I'm rounding here because I don't have it in front of me. We think of, here's the big picture statistic. I'll tell you that story. One is, when you look at giving in the United States, 70% of charitable giving, when I was mentioning the 433 billion, 70% of that 430 billion comes from individuals, not corporations or foundations. Yeah. Another almost 10% comes from bequest. Those people who have identified a nonprofit in their estate plans, like an insurance policy or just a gift upon their death. And then you look at the other categories. Foundations are less than 20%. So you've got foundations, that's the third category. And then the fourth one is corporations. Corporations are about 5% of that 430 billion. Wow.
So they're not the ones giving the money.
No, it's individuals. But let me tell you on the foundations, because that's what it made me think when you're telling that story. On foundations, the almost 20%, which is a nice chunk, of those foundations, over half of those foundations are family foundations. And of those family foundations, almost around 90% of those family foundations are at the $50 million mark or less. So that the point of that is there are lots and lots of family foundations. I think my camera's falling. There are lots of family foundations, hang on, that we're not tapping into.
Okay.
About that. So they kind of they fly under the radar is what happens with these family foundations. I may have to fix my camera. So just like you're talking to someone in a restaurant and you just don't realize that people have donor advised funds or family foundations, they don't always have websites, or they're just listening. And so keep that in mind.
You never even know who they are. You might be talking to them or run into them. So I bet a lot of people are getting ideas like, oh man, I could ask this person, I could ask you. You're getting a lot of ideas, but then we probably run into like, hey, I don't really know how to do this. I need a little bit of some structure around this, Nancy.
Yes.
And I'd love to give some structure behind what we're doing, because we've really given some great ideas, and probably people's minds are thinking, oh, whoa, now I've got some ideas. I want to run with it. But before you run with it, could we give some structure around some of this stuff?
Yes. You're asking the magic question. Is it possible for you to share that chart that's real colorful, Jesse?
All right. Let me let me jump in here. I've got I got 2 of them. So one, let's see here. Let me share this one. You could tell me. Oh, so they would download. So something's coming up for you to click it and download it, I believe.
Okay.
So
it should show up on the screen too.
yeah, so the way this has it is everyone gets to download it.
Okay.
So it might not show up on the screen, but I believe, let's see here, share material.
Okay.
Oh. All right. So I think everyone's downloaded it. Nancy, you will have the ability to share it, and maybe even I can share it as well, just to make sure we're all looking at the same thing. But yeah, everyone should have downloaded it by now. It looks like people all downloaded it. Stage 1, create interest. So that's the one that we're all looking at right now.
Okay.
Looks like everyone downloaded it already.
Okay. Is everybody good? You can see that? Colorful? Thumbs up. Let me see. Let me get to the chat.
And I'm also sharing that window now.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Super. You know, I'm not usually on the Demio, which is new. This is a new experience for me, Jesse, on the Demio. So I don't know about you guys. I'm usually on a different one, but I love it. It's working. Okay, so look, this is the Inspire method, is the one that I created based on what I was successful with, and what is, you'll recognize a lot of these steps, but I do it just a little bit differently, and kind of how I approach a donor. So if you look at, there are 6 steps that you want to follow, and in this order, obviously it's stages of steps. And the first stage is you've got to create that interest. And it's what I was talking about shortly ago about getting your message clear. You want to create a clear and compelling message before you do anything else, before you ask anybody for money. I was already given that example. You've got to know what your need is. You've got to know what your urgency, your need is right now. Like through the crisis, you may have had something in particular. You've got to share it. You've got to articulate it. You've got to use words that resonate with people, with potential donors. So that's the first thing. That's stage 1, is creating that interest and getting really clear on your message. And let me say this, I moved around in the last 15 years. I was in 3 different places. And so every time I'd be in a new community and I'd meet people and they knew I did nonprofit work. They'd say, oh, I'm with such and such. Well, I wasn't from the area. I didn't know that name. And they just assumed I knew what they did and what their work was about. I just didn't have a clue. So even though you may have been in the community for a long time, you still need to remind people what you do, why you do it, the transformation, all that I was talking about earlier. So that's stage 1. Stage 2 is identifying people. You've got to create identify your top 100. I'll come back to that, but a top 100 potential major donor list. You have to have a list from which to work. You can't just wake up and think, who am I going to call today, or who can I get money from today? That's not a system, and you need a system and process. That's what fundraising is about. That's the science of fundraising. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I say top 100 because it's amazing how you can easily fill up a sheet of potential major donors, and they need to have 3 criteria is what I use. 3 criterion to be on a list. 1, they have to be passionate about your cause. There has to be some indication that they're passionate about your mission and the work you're doing. Some indication. It may be a conversation on an elevator, at a civic meeting, or you read something in the news, the business journal, something like that. And you don't have to have met them to be on your list. You don't have to have met them, because you've got board members and other people who can introduce you. So awesome. That's the first one, Jesse. And the second one is they have to have the means to give. Now, the means to give, it depends on your organization, what you consider a major gift. It might be $500 if you're new, or a smaller budget. It could be $10,000 as your threshold for a major gift. That's usually a larger university or something like that, maybe 100,000. But a major gift is defined by you.
Okay.
It's usually $1,000 to 10,000 is typical range of considered a major gift, but it depends on your organization. So they have to have the passion, they have to have the means to give at a significant level, and they have to be philanthropic. And that seems obvious, but let me tell you this, Jesse. I had a board member who was extremely passionate about our mission, and he had the means to give. He was very wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
He was not philanthropic.
I'm sure we see that a lot. We see
Yeah.
that. And sometimes that can hurt our feelings. But again, if you take yourself out of the equation,
Yeah.
and you find out that your friend isn't philanthropic, that's okay. Move on maybe to the next person.
Exactly. You got it. Just move on. You're helping people. Remember, you're that conduit between those who have the means and those in need, and you're trying to match that. And if someone is not interested or philanthropic or passionate, then you move on. You're exactly right. So that's that identification. That's stage 2. Stage 3 is discovering a donor's service. And what I mean by that is what are donors passionate about? You're looking for what lights them up.
Mm-hmm.
It could be education. It could be animal welfare. It could be, children's education. It could be higher education. It could be a number of things. It could be putting well water in South Africa. I mean, I didn't tell you this, Jesse, but my dad did mission work. He had his own mission group, medical mission group. He's a dentist. He's no longer does it, but so I know we've never talked about that, but he and another friend, they put well waters in certain part of another country, several other countries. So you've got to identify those who are passionate about your mission. You know that saying that you can't talk to somebody with their back to you.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not interested in animal welfare, I'm not interested. I mean, it just doesn't excite me. Something like that, or saving the planet, or whatever it is. It just doesn't. You can't. You're not really. You can enlighten someone. You can if you educate them more, but don't expect them to turn around and just jump right on it. So you're looking for low-hanging fruit, first of all. Does that make sense, Jesse?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just the same thing. Yeah, take yourself out. Even if they're your best friend and they give millions of dollars away, if they're not interested in your cause, move on. That shouldn't stop you.
Yeah. And you might, if it's someone close to you, you may get them to give for a year or two, but you'll see that if their passion's not there, then it's not there. Now, I do believe you can change a person's mind, because if you can show them the life that's changed or a community that's changed, you can. It's not that. But you're
back to that stage 1. I think you're right. So even if someone's passion's not there, maybe you can show them why their passion could be there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, and do it through storytelling is, your most powerful way to draw somebody in, is that story. Tell that story. Okay, so I'm going to move on. I'm watching our time, Jesse, so I think we're good. On to stage 4 is aligning the passion with the engagement at the organization. So once you've had that discovery stage, sometimes you hear that word, that stage 3, you discover a little bit about the donor, then you're ready to align that passion with something that's important, a priority at your organization. You don't want to create something that's not important for your mission, right? You don't want to get out of your lane just because someone has money and they're giving to X. You want to be careful about that. You want to already know what your priorities are at your organization. And then you match and bring them in and say, would you like a backstage tour? Would you like to see our work in action? Would you like to meet a student who's overcome great obstacles? I would love to show you. Would you be interested? You take them, you're carrying them along the journey. You're pulling them along gently, very gently and very thoughtfully. So you see, when that happens, you see what's next is you're ready to ask them for money. But
Mm-hmm.
you're not doing that. You're not just walking up to people who have money and say, hey, would you like to give $5,000 or $1,000? You want to know them. You really want to get to know them so that they are in your circle of friends year after year, and they grow and they get more and they bring their friends in. That's the ideal kind of major gift fundraising that you want, is relationship. Again, back to that. Does that make sense, Jesse?
It does. It does.
Okay. And if anybody has any questions, I'm looking over here. Networking is vital. You're right, Karen. Yeah. So if you have any questions, you can start populating. I see one. I'll come back to that.
Well, let me hit up number 5.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure we hit 5 and 6 good enough as part of the system.
Right.
But boy, that invite people to be the hero. I know times I've really failed at that. So here's one of the things: take yourself out, because when we're often doing it, we're often the hero.
Yeah.
And we forget that each person wants to also be the hero, and maybe they don't have the ability to go on a month-long mission trip or give up their job.
Right.
So they also want to be the hero, and they do that through giving. And when it comes to major gifts, I've noticed that some of our donors that help us with the programs we do in Tanzania, they're more like, call me when you're doing something specific, right? Like, I know you're always over there doing this one thing, but when you're ready to dig the next well, or you're ready to start the next widows program, then call me. They want to fund that one thing. They want to be that hero. And I think if you give people that opportunity to be like, it's not like donate to us because we're giving sheep out. It's like, can you buy this family 5 sheep? Can you be their hero? So I think that's really key, to give people that opportunity to be the hero on one specific give that does one specific thing.
Yeah, and that's ideal. That is ideal, is be specific. You make an ask for something specific, and not, would you give to our organization? Except during a crisis like we've been through.
Yeah.
They do, not donors who are philanthropic, they understand that you're in dire need. You're trying not to close the doors, or you're trying to keep staff all on the payroll, that kind of thing. So there are exceptions, but you're exactly right, Jesse. If you can ask for something specific, and you've already done your homework in stage 3 and 4, and like you might know someone who, Jesse, if you're doing well waters in Tanzania, you might know someone who has a water bottling company, or the Coca-Cola or the Pepsi. You see, there's a connection, even though it's not quite, but you can draw that line, connect the dots. It's kind of like I did with the Geico. I thought, we have lots of commuters for the community college students. Lots are in their cars. Okay, I need a car insurance company that would fund these students who are in their car. It's the same thing with the well waters. I mean, you've got to get creative and think about, connect the dots for the donor. They don't always come up with it.
Absolutely. And I know sometimes it's so clear in my head, and I'm thinking, well, you don't get it just by looking at this one picture. No, excellent. Right. And number 6 on there too, obviously, that's probably where we drop the ball the most.
It is, actually. It's the one, if you're to ask me, you asked earlier what people struggle with, but this is the one, is in recognition of donors for their gifts, is where nonprofits drop the ball the most. And it's the easiest one to do. It's the most fun to do, is to say thank you. And you can do it words. Picking up the phone as soon as a gift comes in is the most important thing to do. The executive director or CEO to pick up the phone and call and say thank you, and then get a personal note out is what you want to do. But I think, I was on a call with some clients. It was a group call, and the person was saying, yes, I've got a list of donors I'm writing personal notes to. And I thought, how long ago did they give the gift? Because I want a note out within 24 hours, a personal note. If it's a large gift, or if there's potential for a large gift. And there's different ways to recognize major donors. Some people don't like a lot of stage time. They really don't like a lot of attention for their gift. And you need to know that. That's part of knowing the donor, is getting to know what they like. And they may like just let's have lunch and have lunch with the CEO or have lunch with a beneficiary. But then again, there may be some that really like the stage and they want to be recognized in a big way. So you have to know your donors, know how to recognize them, but find out.
Absolutely. Well, man, that is all really good stuff. I think I'm going to have to start looking over this again before I even head out for my next mission trip later this year in Tanzania. And because the time starts coming, and I start looking at, well, do I got to raise? What can I? And some of us, we're all at different stages. Some of us do mission work part-time. So we also work, like myself. Some of us are full-time missionaries or full-time on your mission and whatever you're doing. And this is just so important no matter what stage you're at in your mission work. So Nancy, before we do questions and answers, did you want me to give that link out for anyone who is interested in getting some of your free material?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and post that. And while you're doing that, this is what we went over is a blueprint, but I have a little more extensive blueprint that Jesse is going to share the link with. So it's got this, what you see, and then it's got three more pages, and it's for you to fill in the blank of creating your major gift fundraising plan. It's really good. And then it has a video, a 20-minute video that goes with it. So be sure and watch that video. I think you'll really, really find value from that. So yeah, be sure and click on that link. Did you put it in?
Yeah, people are downloading it already. So
okay, good deal.
86% of everyone here already downloaded. All right. So while people are making sure they get that, we can jump in. I know you had one other slide if you wanted to bring that up, or should we jump into questions and answers? Because question and answer time getting in here.
Yeah, I think it is. I'm just gonna put in this blueprint link, Jesse, because I think
I did. I got the blueprint link already, and people are already downloading it.
Okay, because I'm not sure if you do that, it's going to show you the video. So I may have messed up giving you that. So I just went ahead and put that link in there.
Oh, okay, that one. Okay. The one I had the yes after it as well. So.
Yeah. So
awesome. And there's another link that Nancy just put in the chat, if you guys see that. So I suggest you click on that as well. Just make sure you get everything Nancy's offering here today. Yeah. All right. Well,
okay.
Well, we've got Monica asking, you probably see that, Nancy, about, her donors are middle-class average people, right? So maybe in her eyes, people can't give $1 million or 10,000 or 5,000. So what are some of your suggestions for that?
How do you get to know someone who has the means to give large donations? Well, let me tell you this fun story of there are definitely ways to find them. And it's not really a needle in the haystack kind of mentality. I had a friend who always read cover to cover the business journal that came out in their community. Monica, do you have a business journal? Something like that in your community? Something where there's news. I mean, it could be other means, but the business journal, it's about, business people who are heads of corporations, heads of businesses. They're successful people. Well, they had an article about, he said, fairy tales do come true. Fairy tales do come true. He was talking about his business and his personal life and how he's been very fortunate. Well, this individual had a child resource center. It was what they raised money for, to help child care centers. And they had an annual fairy tale ball. So she wrote a personal note to him and said, I read your article. Congratulations on being profiled in the business journal. We have a fairy tale ball. Would you be interested, or your grandchildren or children be interested? She did not know him at all. Got in contact with him. He was so elated by this personal note and so impressed. He ended up sending his grandchildren and his daughter to the fairy tale ball, and they started that relationship and ended up making a large gift. That's an example. When you say, I don't know anyone, your antenna needs to be up. It needs to be up, and don't be afraid to connect. She didn't call and say, would you give money? She said, would you be interested in coming to the ball or bringing your grandchildren? That feels a little different, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes sense or if that would help, Monica, in your situation, but think about that. And if that doesn't, that's the first thing that comes to mind, because there was no relationship at all. And it's just watching for opportunities.
Absolutely. And Karen White, it wasn't a question, but earlier she said networking is vital, as you saw, which goes with Monica's. I mean, network when you're learn about people, learn about them in a genuine way. So, all right, we've got EW Helmick here. He said he's exhausted his list of top 100 potential donors. So what's your advice there? He's doing great stuff. How does he find new donors, or what maybe has made him exhaust that list of 100 top donors? Anything there?
Yeah. So another thing I haven't mentioned is, do you have a board, EW? Do you have some board members? A lot of times board members are brought on because they are passionate about the mission, or they have a role they've played, and that's all good. But you really do need, yes, I see this. You do need to have board members who have tentacles in the community, or in across oceans. I mean, you really do need to bring on, start with bringing on board members or an advisory committee. If there's nothing wrong with creating an advisory committee, a fundraising advisory committee that can help you with outreach. Because if you're stuck, you can't do it by yourself, EW. You cannot. If you're executive director, development director, CEO, you absolutely cannot do it by yourself and be as successful as you could be. You will not reach your highest potential. And if you're stuck, I would think about advisory committee or your board member. And if you feel like the board members, their tentacles or their outreach is stale, look around and see who you can bring on. And it's the same kind of like asking someone for money. You're go to someone and say, I thought about you because I need some new life, some new fresh ideas on my board. And I thought about you because you're philanthropic. You care about this. You care about that. You see, we're going back to that. They've got to have some passion. They've got to have some indication that they've given to something that's similar to your mission if they haven't given to you. Does that make sense? I mean, board members really need to be utilized. And some are going to be better than others. Your whole board does not have to be highly, highly, highly engaged. If you have 3 or 4 board members who are highly engaged, you can have a very successful fundraising year.
Awesome. Eric says, great. Thank you for the good ideas.
Yeah.
All right. We've got Monica. So she's had an interesting one. Big donor, bad information. So she doesn't know how to reach out to them.
Oh, nothing. And no phone number. Oh, wow. And a donor you didn't know. Is there someone who knows? I mean, I know you don't know this person, and you've done search on the internet, just the cursory search on the internet, Monica. You need to find them. I do have a funny story. I had a major donor. When I left, he was still giving, and he had given almost close to $50,000, and I never met him. I never heard his voice. I did finally find a professor who knew him, just to know that he was legit. I mean, I kind of thought, don't even know if he's real. I mean, we called him our phantom donor, but we did find out. I mean, we had to do a lot of digging to find out who this person was. And we didn't. So Monica, have you exhausted all internet and board member advisory? You do want to locate the person. Did they do it online? Did they write a check? It's so interesting. I'm curious. So let me know. You want to find them. You definitely want to find them.
Sometimes people mistype and put like .co when it should be .com in their email address.
Yeah.
And, some people put a bad email address in so they're not on an email list, but it could be a mistype. And if, they put a full name.
We're in Texas and they're in California. I even had a niece to locate that person, but she couldn't find him. They donated online on our website. It's bothered me ever since. I don't blame you. I mean, I don't blame you. Gosh, Monica, I'm stumped if you've just uncovered everything. I mean, do you know if they're in what part, what town? I'm kind of want to dig for you. I'm going to be a detective here. Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. All right. Well, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
know.
hopefully you can use the tips that you're learning today to foster other donors to become that large donor, even if you can't ever find this person. So
yeah.
awesome. Do we have any other questions that anyone wants to ask before we? I have a name, that 07. I can pass on to you or Jesse. Yeah, feel free to, send it over our way, and maybe we can help you.
Yeah, we're curious. I want you to find who that is so you can. And then when you do, Monica, when you figure out who it is, you want to say, "I've been searching for you because I wanted to say thank you." You can make it fun, but I do want to be 007. Lots of reasons I'd like to be 007.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Well, do we have any other questions from anyone else?
These are good.
All right. Yeah, we've kind of been here about an hour. We don't want to keep people too long before everyone hops off. I just want to thank you guys all so much. I want to thank everyone who's using Continue to Give and always giving feedback so we can make our product better for you. And as we step into this next phase of Continue to Give, bringing on professionals like Nancy to help you guys, just really encourage you to reach out to Nancy, learn more about what she does, and see about how her tools can help you so you can maximize your effectiveness with her tips. So yeah, thank you. And Nancy, is there anything you'd like to say?
No, I think I would close with, if you're not focused on large gift fundraising, you're missing out. You're missing money. You need to be focused on large gift fundraising for the reasons, the statistics I gave you. And you're helping these philanthropists reach their philanthropic desires. So remember, you're that conduit. So if you're not taking major gift fundraising serious enough, then do, and know that anyone can do it. You can be successful with large gift fundraising. Don't let it scare you. Get over that fear and be that guide so that they can be a hero. Like Jesse said, the donor can be the hero and you be the guide. Yeah. Thanks, Jesse. I appreciate it. I enjoyed our conversation today.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much Nancy. You did excellent. I just really appreciate all those tips. I hope to put them to good use. And thank you, everyone that showed up. Have a great day and God bless. Bye now.
Yeah. Bye.